In this video, I am going to show you how to create a quiz or a test or a worksheet for students. And so I start with, like, let's say we want to add two numbers, let's say 25 and plus 34. So I'm going to do, I type 25, and then I'm going to do shift enter to go to the next line, but I don't want to skip a line. I don't want it to be doubled space. And then I want to write plus 34. So I choose this option underline and I write plus 34. And I want to move this a little bit to the right, so that they line up the numbers on ones place and the tens place to be lined up. So I'm done. And that is question number one. Let's say question number two, we want to use square root or we want to use exponents. So for that purpose, we are going to go to insert and we are going to go to equations. I will type an expression which requires order of operation agreement to solve it. So let's say I want to type 2 and I want 2 to have an exponent of 3. So I go to this option, math operations, and I choose the exponential value here, x to the power b. So if you click on it, you won't get x to the power b, but you will be able to write an exponential value. So I put 2, and then in order for me to put the exponent 3, I have to use the arrow to the right, because you have 4 arrows on your keyboard. So 2 arrows take you up or down on a document, and 2 arrows take you to the left or to the right. You want to use the arrow that takes you to the right, and that is going to put the cursor above 2 so you can put an exponent. Let's say I put 3. And then again, I don't want to be on that exponent position. I want to go back to the base. So you do the arrow again, and it puts you back on the base. And then let's say I say plus, I want to put 9 minus 5. But then I wanted to put 9 minus 5 inside the parentheses, and I forgot. So I have 2 options. I could go back here, put the cursor before 9 and do this, and then just go to 5 and close the parentheses. And I want to show you another option. You could also highlight 9 minus 5 entirely. Just 9 minus 5. And then go to this option, more equation. This doesn't have the parentheses here, does not. I'm looking for the parentheses option. Here it is, the parentheses option. So you could use that, or you could use brackets, or you could use absolute value. So let's say I want 9 minus 5 to be in absolute value instead of parentheses. So I choose absolute value sign, 9 minus 5. And then I want to keep going. So I have to use the cursor to go after absolute value. 9 minus 5 inside the absolute value is going to be 4. And absolute value of 4 is just positive 4. And then I want to minus, let's say, square root of, I want the square root of 9. And that is how you write an expression using the following. Let's say I would like to write something else. This time I want to write 5 divided by square root of x to the power 2 minus 3. So I want to use fraction. First, I click on new equation. When I click on new equation, it allows me to use these functions here. So new equation, you get this blue box. And then I want to write a fraction. Since I want to write a fraction, that is the first thing I should pick. So I go to math equation, I pick the fraction option. It gives me the fraction, allows me to type something on the top. Let's say I want to put 5. And then on the bottom, I want to write the square root of x to the power 2 minus 3. So I will go back here and click on that to see what options are available. So I want this option, square root option. Then I want to type x to the power 2. Since I know x to the power 2 is an exponential value, I go back to more option. I go to this exponential value. So it allows me to put x. And remember, since I want to have an exponent, I have to use the right arrow to put me on the exponent. And then I put 2. Since I want to get out of the exponent, I do the right arrow again. And then I write minus 3. Let's say I forgot, and I want to add a negative sign here before my fraction. So I go to beginning of the fraction, make sure the blue box is there, then you put a negative sign. So that is what you get, negative square 5 over square root of x squared minus 3. And that is how you create a quiz on a Google document. I want to show you how you could do this in Microsoft Word as well. So let's say I go to Microsoft Word. So for Microsoft Word, you also go to Insert. And before I do the insert, let me just do something again. We want to, let's say 23 minus. So when you want to write 23 minus or plus 45, you have to use Shift, Enter, so that it doesn't give you double space. And then you say plus 45. But we want plus 45 to be underlined. So I put plus 45. And I want this 23 to move forward. So I just do that. So they line up nicely, and I'm done. Next, again, we want to write an expression that can be simplified using order of operation agreement. So for that purpose, we go to Insert. And just, I want to so we are going to go to Insert, and we want to do equation again. And this time we want to insert a new equation. So it's putting it in the middle of the page, but I'll tell you how to get rid of that. So I want to type again 5 to the power 2 to the power 3. So it's an exponential value. And for exponential value, you choose this option. And then you just type x 2 to the power 3. And then to get to 3 again, you just have to do the same thing as before, the right arrow. I don't want to have this under line here, and I think it picked it up from the previous example. So let me go back to home and get rid of this underline. Okay. So go back to design, and then we said we want to add this. See, I'm not in the equation editor anymore. None of the features are on the top, so use a left arrow to get back inside the equation editor, design, and I want to add, you can put a parenthesis here. We have 9 minus 5. And let's say I want to turn this to absolute value because I didn't want the parentheses. So you highlight it. And we look for absolute value sign, which is in here in the brackets. And the absolute value sign is here. But I don't need the parentheses anymore. So I go back and I delete the parentheses. So on the bracket, you have all these. You have parentheses, you have brackets, and you have absolute value sign. And then we are going to go and type plus the square root of 4. So design. Let's say I want to divide by square root of 4. So to find the division sign, you can go up here, and that's where all the signs are. Do you see you have a plus minus sign, and then you have the division sign divided by 4. We are done with this one, and I wanted to put the square root of 4. So let me I typed 4. I want to turn that to square root. So you just highlight 4 and go back to design, radical, and you just want a square root. So you put a square root. But if in order to highlight, to get a square root over 4, you have to highlight 4 and then do that. Or at the beginning, if you remembered, you could have gone here and pick this, put the square root sign first, and then put 4. Also, we wanted this to be pushed over to the left. So all you have to do is press a space bar, and that is going to push the equation or the expression in this case to the left. Press enter. We want another new equation. So I go to insert equation. And this time I want to have a fraction. So I do the fraction. And then I click on that. And then I want to have 5. And then take the cursor to the denominator. Take a radical. Go to this and type x to the power 2. To get x to the power 2, you just go to, again, script. And this is how your script is going to look like. So you type x, you use the left arrow to go to that exponent box, you put 2. You want to get out of that exponent box. Again, use the right arrow, and then type minus 3. If you want to put something outside the radical, do another right arrow, and it puts you outside, let's say plus 1. Now plus 1 is not under the radical. So if you want to put a sign here, you can go back here and put a negative sign, but make sure you are inside the box. And then again, you want this to be pushed to the left. Just use the space bar and click, and it pushes it back to the left.